You know, there's no better feeling than working on a project for several months, and then the first time you get to take it out and really try it out and test it and get to enjoy it. So before this, when I was just at home, I'm lucky enough that, we have a little bit of property so I can drive this around at home. So before this shakedown run, basically at the house, I did like a 5-minute shakedown run, just checking for oil leaks and stuff like that, or any other leaks that could be happening. And then I did a 15-minute test run, just basically same thing, just, driving around, ripping around. Again, just checking for any kind of leaks. And then I did an hour-long test drive, cruising around. I wanted everything to get up to full temperature and stuff like that. I wanted the fans to kick on. I wanted to make sure the gauges worked. I wanted to make sure that, everything worked as it should, because for us to get from home to here, it's about a 2.5-3 hour drive each way. So I've been that guy before where I loaded everything up, drove a long ways, unloaded my stuff, and found out within about 2 minutes that, I still need to work on this, and I had to drive home. So definitely did not want to be that guy and wanted to make sure that everything worked out as it should before we got to this point. Now, when I was at the house, it was a lot more of a mellow test ride, just cruising around the neighborhood and that kind of thing. This is where I kind of wanted to test it a little bit harder and work things a little bit harder. So I'm actually going up here to find snow, because snow puts an incredible amount of load on the engine and the drivetrain and builds up a lot of heat and things. And that's what I really wanted to test out, is the oil cooler, to see, if the fan kicks on when it should, and I wanted to see how much cooler that helped keep the engine coolant temp as well. Plus, it's never a bad time getting out into the hills and getting out away from everything, and just getting out into nature. I don't know why, but for some reason, it always amazes me how much it recenters me and recenters my thinking. And it just kind of reminds me to focus on what's truly important, and how all the problems that I think I have going on in life, how insignificant most all of them actually are. It really just kind of helps keep me balanced and stuff, and helps keep me grounded. So as you can see, we're finally getting up into the snow and stuff, and this is where the temperatures definitely started to rise, and things started to get up to a nice warm operating temperature and stuff like that. So it's a lot of work actually for the machine to claw its way through snow, especially because it was a nice warm day out, so the snow kind of started to melt a little bit and stuff, and it got really heavy and slushy. But having that iPad now mounted on Allie's side, she said it was way easier, as far as navigation goes and stuff like that, to see where we were going and everything. So she was super happy with that, and it was nice and stable too, which was really good. Didn't rattle a bunch or anything like that, which I was kind of worried about, since my mount was definitely a little on the flimsier side. I was a little bit nervous that it would kind of rattle a bunch. So one thing you need to be careful with when you're going out into the hills, especially going out alone like we are, in the snow, is that it looks like it's a nice beautiful day out, right? And it is, it's nice and warm. Well, that actually makes it fairly dangerous, because it's kind of unpredictable. So one time a buddy and I were out here, luckily we're two machines using the buddy system. When we first got out there, it was mid-20s or so it was pretty cold, so everything was still frozen, but the weather for that day was supposed to get up mid-50s or so. It was supposed to have a crazy temperature swing. Well, we were out cruising around in the snow and stuff, and we were staying up on top of stuff pretty good just because it was still frozen. And once we got out into kind of the open areas where there was a lot of sunlight and stuff, and things started to warm up, it actually started to melt that top layer of snow and soften it a little bit. So we broke through into this kind of mushy stuff underneath, which had zero traction in it. It ended up being a royal nightmare. It took us 3.5 hours to winch our way and dig and everything else about 500 yards. It was crazy how much of a pain in the butt it became. So kind of the good lesson learned there is, you know, everything is frozen at night because it's nice and cold, but then if it's supposed to warm up at all throughout the day, definitely beware, because it's going to thaw out and you could very well end up getting out there a ways and not be able to get back the same path because everything will be so soft and you'll end up getting stuck a ton, which is what happened to us. So it was a little nerve-wracking and everything, but we made it out okay. Anyway, that's just a little lesson that I learned and stuff along the way, so hopefully it helps somebody. But let's get back to the test. Okay, 10 miles into our initial test. So far so good. Oil temp got up to like 240 or so, and the fan would kick on and bring it down to like 230, which I think is ideal because it's working pretty hard getting through all the snow. So super pretty out here. And as far as oil leaks go, clean bill of health back here, and looks like a clean bill of health up there. So that's all you can ask for. So far so good. So love coming out here. So peaceful. Alright, so the way that I set this up, just in case you guys didn't watch the build videos, is the 3 gauges there in the center. The left one is the oil temperature gauge, center one is the oil pressure gauge, and the right side is the water temp gauge. And if you look above it, there's a couple LED lights. The first one is basically an indicator for when the oil cooler fan comes on. The blue one in the center is for when the intercooler fan comes on, and the green one on the right is for when the radiator fan comes on. So the reason why I wanted those LED lights was to tell me when all the fans are on, because once all 3 fans are on, basically the whole system is working as hard as it possibly can to keep everything cool. Now, why that's important to know is in a race, once something gets hot, it's very hard to keep any kind of moderate pace up and bring the temperatures down, right? Because basically you just have to keep slowing down until the temperatures come down. So if you know when everything is running at its max capacity, right? Everything is working as hard as it can to cool things down, you know from here on out, the temperature control is my right foot. And if it needs to come down, I need to start backing off a little bit. So that's why I wanted to put those lights on there, was just that way I'd have a good indicator and I would know before things got hot. The other thing that we did to the Can-Am was kind of necessitated actually because of the oil cooler, is we put a new exhaust on it. And unlike most people, I don't really think the Can-Am sounds that good at all, ever. It's never going to sound like an LS, it's never going to sound like a race car, it's never going to sound like a V8, you know, it's a 3-cylinder 4-stroke engine, it's never going to sound that great. This exhaust helped give it like a little bit deeper tone, but it's really not that much louder than stock at all. I really actually like how it just sounds a little bit deeper, just makes it sound a little burlier. Take a listen and stuff and let me know what you guys think. Comment down below and stuff, and tell me what you think, how it compares to, you know, how it sounds stock. And this is why I wanted to come out here in the snow. Because like I said, it makes everything work way harder. As you can see, the turbo is glowing red. So we are 25 miles, 30 miles in. Everything's going good, except, I mean, everything's going fine, but you see that line right there? That is where the lower control arm
right? Remember, these are the CT, lower arms are rubbing on that rotor hat. It's doing that on both sides, but that is the biggest problem we have. It's an easy problem to fix. Otherwise, dash, awesome. No rattles, none of that stuff. Exhaust sounds worlds better than before. But yeah, overall, she's doing good. She's cruising, she's ripping. So we're kind of taking it easy today. Normally we'd be putting on a lot more miles than this, but where we don't have any friends out here with us, the whole buddy system thing, we're trying to kind of stay close-ish to the truck. I mean, we're probably still 7-8 miles from the truck. Kind of like gone out, come back, gone out, come back, just like going on different trails and stuff. But yeah, so exhaust so dirty, but you guys can't tell. Going into the muffler though is turning a beautiful goldish purple. Just looks super cool. But otherwise, oil fittings are all dry and stuff. So yeah, we're cruising. Gonna keep on trucking.
So as I was telling you about earlier, kind of when the sun is out, and it starts to thaw out the snow, after the snow has been frozen all night, gets rid of that nice top hard layer. This is where we started to break through, and I started to kind of get nervous about it. So I decided, you know what, since we're all alone out here, let's just stop, back up. Before I stopped, I had spotted this tree on the passenger side where there's kind of a big open area down below it where there was no snow. So I was trying to back up and get onto that, we'll call it dry ground and stuff. That way I knew that there'd be traction there. Also, I wanted to stop in an area where there were a bunch of trees, just in case I could winch my way out, kind of like winch myself around. But as you can see, we're struggling like crazy just to move at all, right? We're cruising along and then all of a sudden you break through and it's like there's nothing. So, especially when you're alone, better safe than sorry. If it's you and a few buddies, screw it. Go have a good time, Go out there and just go trailblazing and just see who can make it the farthest. But when you're alone, it's a little different. Especially where we have so many other trails out here that we can go explore and stuff. There's no sense in pushing it, and getting a little bit too reckless out there. So we decided just to head back down a little ways and stuff and go find, a different trail. Because if you find stuff that's still shaded, the snow will still be nice and firm. Or where we were, we could just go down elevation a little ways and just go get to dirt if we wanted to. So decided just to turn around and stuff and just keep on cruising. All in all, Can-Am did super well. 0 flaws aside from that the rubbing on the brake rotor with the lower control arm. But otherwise, everything worked out really well. Super happy with the dash, super happy with the gauges, the iPad mount, the exhaust, the oil cooler, all of it. So definitely happy about that. Now, gonna head back, we'll fix that lower control arm interference and stuff, and then after that I think we're ready to go do some race testing and stuff. We got our first race coming up here in June, so should be pretty good. I'm definitely feeling and a lot more comfortable with how cool the Can-Am should stay, because in the last race things definitely got uncomfortably hot. So now we should be able to rip it the whole time and have zero worries.